here's a recorded conversation I had with my wife. And the premise of this recording, the conversation we were having, was concerning a close family member that has been disfellowshipped. My kids know this person very well, and we all know this person very well as a male. It was given a phone call was given to us about his soon announcement, I guess, to warn us that they shouldn't be talking to this person anymore after he's announced. It's just going to happen. This person is going to be disfellowshipped. That's a world live situation that my kids are actually going to experience firsthand about this whole policy of disfellowshipping within the Jehovah Witnesses and what are the rules and things of that nature. And my wife, she doesn't tell the adverse, things about the Jehovah Witnesses, only the good things about petting pandas and, everlasting paradise on earth and all that. But there's this, seedy underbelly surrounding the Jehovah Witnesses as an organization and how they conduct their discipline, their so-called discipline. That's where I step in and fill in the blanks that they are not telling our kids about this whole disfellowshipping thing. And I'm trying to drive home to my kids that, Jesus has not been baptized until he turned 33, and he's the Son of Man, or the Son of God rather. So there's no reason for you guys to be, baptized unless you really believe in this thing, or just baptized in another religion. In either event, you have a choice. No matter how the peer pressure is going to be, and I'm going to warn them about the peer pressure that they're going to pressure them into getting baptized as young and soon as possible by fear, obligation, and guilt. This whole disfellowshipping scenario within our family is playing out in prime time for us, and I'm like Howard Cosell, the sports announcer from back when in the 70s, just giving a play-by-play, description of what's happening, what's going to happen, and things like that. I'm having a conversation with my wife, but in reality, my intended audience are my kids who are listening in the background, and you'll hear them later on. Excuse me. You'll hear them later on try to stop us from arguing. Well, we're not arguing. We're just having a heated debate, and we're both trying to prove our points. My wife, she is too knee-deep in the Jehovah Witnesses' clutches. As you will hear in this recording, you will hear the same, cheerleading mantra of the lights getting brighter and we are imperfect, or we are just Bible students. That's why we're still figuring this thing out since the early 1900s in the beginning till now. They're still figuring it all out. So they're just, innocent Bible students, try to figure this whole thing out. But you will hear my response to all that in this particular recording as well. So the good thing is we're not arguing. We're having a heated discussion, voicing our differences of opinion, trying to prove our points. So at the end, we still kiss and made up and everything. Well, we didn't make up because nothing was broken. So it's all good. And I try to give my explanation of what I was trying to do to my wife as far as trying to make her think and research her thing. But and this whole conversation is kind of mixed match, because this was a spur of the moment conversation, and when we started, it was about disfellowshipping. And the one thing that sparked this thing is I was telling her that this is, I think, is a control mechanism of the society to control the Jehovah Witness people. And I give her examples or try to tell her that they have been innocent people that have been disfellowshipped for, unjustly. there were members there that were disfellowship that had the society in good, not, I wouldn't say standing, but in good faith to come to the society and explain things and to get them to shut up. The society in turn disfellowshipped them. And she was like, and she asked me, this is before I started recording because I didn't have my phone with me to record. So I found my phone maybe halfway through the whole conversation. The first part of this conversation we had was way more interesting than what you're going to listen to now. But she asked me, she challenged me to ask me who were disfellowship unjustly. And I had two perfect examples. Raymond Franz for having a meal with a disassociated friend who gave him a job, who actually he works for, and I told her that it's not in this recording, but I told her that they came up with this disfellowshipping rule for someone to talk to somebody who's already been either disassociated or disfellowship, and they backdated that particular announcement so they could get Raymond Franz and disfellowship him for that supposed sin. So that was my first example. My second example was Olaf Johansson, the guy who wrote Gentile Times Reconsidered, which I told my wife that this person was in good standings with the society. He was a scholar in his own right, and he first approached the governing body to let them know, so the governing body or the Jehovah Witness organization won't feel like, uninformed about current events, or not current events, but ancient history about Jerusalem falling in 687 instead of 607 BCE, which pretty much throws out their whole faithful and discreet slave prophecy out the window, among many other claims that they have made that sort of pivot on the 1914 date. So I told her that this person came to the society first to say, hey, here's all my evidence. I think you guys, the leadership should reconsider the 1914 date and come clean with this so we could show our humbleness and saying that we were wrong and, this is what's going on. Instead, they disfellowship him and kick him out, completely and trashes his research. So those were the two examples that I was telling her. But of course, this was off the cuff within our conversation, and it went from 687 thing to this other thing and many other topics within this questioning about the policy of disfellowshipping. And the cool thing about this whole thing is my kids were right there listening to this whole exchange of words between my wife and I, which is exactly what I wanted. So I consider this the worldly spouse family worship / history lesson at our home, talking about these issues. And I put disfellowshipping up front and center for them to try to understand what this thing is. Mind you, they're preteens and early teenager, so they really don't know what's going on with that thing, and they are questioning, like, well, that's unfair as far as what's going on with this family member and some of these other unwritten rules that are in the Elders book, which the Shepherd the Flock Elders book, which I bring up in this conversation, but it wasn't recorded, unfortunately. I said, well, basically I was telling my wife, well, if you read the Elders book, it'll tell you right there what's going to happen, which you don't know as far as the rules of the game that the elders are playing that you are not privy to. That's where we're at right here, and like I said, this conversation is sort of, choppy in a way, a little bit of noise in the background. I mean, hidden recordings are so hard for me to kind of pull off at spur of the moment and spontaneous like this, but I grabbed what I could grab and used what I could use. So this is it. And to this, it's just more evidence for me to say that my wife is really not ready to open up her mind to what's going on with the Jehovah Witness religion. She is still a propaganda spreading, Jehovah Witness card carrying member. So I wouldn't say there's no hope there, but it is what it is. And she did say she was going to research 680, the date 687, because that's the first time she ever heard of that. I know her too well that she is not going to research that at all. It may have to be her version of researching is going up to the elders and asking them, what's this thing about 687 and 607? The same thing she asked the elders when I was telling her about that the society has said that Jesus is not their mediator. She went ahead and asked the elders about that issue. And of course, this elder lied to her face, saying, "No, we always knew that Jesus was our mediator." So it's that kind of a deal. So I'm pretty sure she's going to go up to the elder, if she remembers this, to ask him about the 687 date, and that's going to be interesting. I'm waiting for the day where he sort of threatens her with disfellowshipping to get her to stop listening to me, or something to that effect. Maybe it will happen, maybe it's not, but time would tell. I don't know about this particular elder. All right.
Live to see the final days.
Did that apply only for you guys, or the millions of, or not the millions, but the anointed that were still living that seen the events of 1914?
But they said they applied it to them at first, but they feel like that's not right.
Right. When did they say that? Recently, right?
I would say like 10 years ago.
10 years ago? Yeah, that's about the time that they came out with this overlap. Instead of fessing up to say that we were wrong, they tried to explain it.
No, they said at an assembly, like, we were wrong.
I could get you the video well, yeah, but they tried to explain it away, saying that it's true, millions will not die because we have this overlapping generation. See, the prophecy at first, Rutherford's prediction or prophecy at first was the people who saw the events in 1914 will not die. Armageddon is going to happen when that happens. Well, they're all dead now. Mm-hmm. So that was a bunk statement. Mm-hmm. And
but what's wrong with being wrong and trying to figure out things?
They're consistently wrong.
Everyone's consistently wrong. We're still trying to figure it out. That's why they're called Bible students.
Okay. But they call themselves prophets too.
No, they don't.
Yes.
No, they don't. They are not prophets.
I got the original 1972 Watchtower.
They're not prophets.
They call themselves prophets in 1972.
Not now. Maybe they tried to then.
How many times? What I'm saying is, and I'm doing it biblically now. The Bible says you only have to lie once about prophecy to say something that in God's name that says to Him that you only had to do that once. And in Deuteronomy,
I mean, this is a non-issue. Being wrong is a non-issue.
But they're consistently wrong, and they call themselves prophets, and they took their authority.
They don't call themselves prophets.
They took their authority saying those things based off of them calling themselves the faithful and wise servant, which is a parable. Try to give themselves some authority that they really don't have. Now, the governing body, so the news from God comes from
being
God
faithful
to Jesus to...
Faithful and discreet slave just means that they give us spiritual food at the proper time. It doesn't mean anything else.
From who? From
the
Jesus,
Bible.
From Jesus directly.
No, from the Bible. They don't.
So they interpret. Jesus. They claim they did.
No, they don't.
They claim they did.
They can't talk to Jesus. There's no way.
All this is on print. And
I know the teachings, and they don't claim to talk to Jesus,
well,
okay?
it's what they.
There's no
this is
way
what they
they
teach. This is what they're telling you, but they're actually doing something else. They're not giving you the whole news. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, why do they have authority?
I feel
Have they been picked by Jesus? The thing is, when we're talking about disfellowshipping, these two people were silenced because they tried to do the right thing, but they were silenced because this 607.
But there might be two sides to the story, so.
Well, the one side is always, stopped and not talked about. When you get this fellowship or whatever, not you per se, but anybody else, does that person get to say his piece in that thing? But then after that, he not outside the three elders. It's not brought to the congregation. It's brought
May I
to
make a
just
statement?
three.
I don't think they want it brought everywhere. Like, why would they? It's personal. Like, my dad doesn't want everyone to know he drinks.
Well, he shouldn't have sinned then.
Can I make a statement? This is technically arguing.
No, it's not.
It
We're
is.
having a conversation.
You're arguing.
It's a difference of opinion.
And then I actually have no desire, like, I don't agree.
But you're
at
disagreeing with each other,
Okay,
so that's
so you
arguing.
don't think Jerusalem fell in 687 when
I
there's
don't-
actual proof?
I don't know about
there's
that.
That right
I
there
can look
alone.
into it, but I don't know.
Okay,
I
that right
always
there,
thought that it did fall in 607.
it didn't. But the thing is,
Well,
that statement alone.
part is new to me.
That statement alone would totally.
Arguments.
We're not arguing. We're stating
It would throw off the date of 1914. I get it.
right, which will throw out 1919 when they say Jesus picked them because Jesus wasn't here to pick them.
Arguing.
No, we're stating.
Arguing.
Sit down.
We're all supposed to be as nice as pie all the time.
Yeah, I know. And we're not arguing. If we were arguing, we would have been yelling at each other.
Yeah.
Mommy would have thrown stuff at
You
me.
can argue without doing that. Anyway, arguing is where you just.
We're debating.
It's
We're
a
debating.
discussion. You disagree. Well, I
It's a
definitely disagree.
Yeah, that's the thing. We both get to disagree, but as long as we don't hurt each other's feelings and stuff like
We're
that,
around calling each other names.
yeah, we're just having a conversation about some issues here, and anyway, yeah.
Because he wants to talk me out of all my beliefs.
No, I want you to research your beliefs and find out what's going on.
Okay.
So that's it.
Whatever. And you have a smug face.
Oh,
It always does. It totally does.
no. Well, all I've said can be researched,
Yes, I know.
and you're not going to, I know.
I will. I'm interested in the research of this, where you got the 687 or whatever.
Google it.
Okay. As soon as I actually have my stuff.
Okay, well, let me ask you this. Let's say theoretically, 687 turns out to be true. It's 20 years off, huh?
Did you put my chicken away?
Yeah, I did. It throws out your prophecy of the faithful and discreet slave that at first used to be all JWs in the beginning. Then they said, no, it's just Russell. Then when what's his name, Rutherford came on, he said, no, everyone is, all the anointed is the faithful and discreet slave.
But they were Bible students, they were all trying to figure this out.
Well, it wasn't until 2013 when the current rules now is that the 8 guys in the governing body is the only faithful and discreet slave. But before that, it was all anointed. So they pretty much demoted all. I mean, that rule flip-flopped like a good 4 or 5 times between Russell and now.
Yeah.
So they have been inconsistently undecisive. I mean, indecisive from 1912 to all the way up to 2013, and they still flip-flop a lot of their issues back and forth because people are finding out, what's going on. Anyway, what was I going to say?
Learning about it too.
Well,
You're
yeah.
acting like you know everything.
I know a lot. I can tell you that.
Okay, but you don't know everything.
Like what?
You're just acting like you know everything from watching YouTube and whatever.
No, I got books.
Yeah, I know, old books.
Your books.
Old books.
And that was the truth of the time. And
Yeah,
if you guys didn't follow it, then you would have been disfellowship if you didn't follow it 100%.
No, that's not true.
True, because the governing body were asked in court, what would happen if one of your members not agree with a policy now that turned out to be false later on? And they said, well, he will be disfellowship because we all have to be in agreement, whether if it was true or not. That is in court transcripts from 1954.
Well, I never heard that.
Well, it's not on jw.org. They don't tell you your history. And all that stuff is in court transcripts. So they took down what they said. These were governing body members. You see, my sources of information is the books that your guys...
Well, that hate Jehovah.
No, not at all. They try to do the good thing by bringing all this thing, and it's all true because the sources are the books that they wrote back then, supposedly that Jesus maybe read to make him think that JWs were his true people. So he must have read Russell's, studies in the scriptures, the books that I'm reading now. And anyway, that's another thing. I don't know how he felt when he saw that. Hey, it says I came here in 1914 and I was going to destroy everything by then, but I didn't. I still like these guys. I'm going to pick them anyway. They were wrong about that, among many other things that are written in those books. So where was I going with this?
I don't know.
Oh, come on now. The rabbit hole gets deeper.
For you.
No. I've been reading up on this for 4 years. I'm having a lot of fun, actually. I'm just asking for you to do your own research. And it all starts with 687. And that's an undisputed fact. Can I make this clear? When I talk to you, I'm not trying to destroy your faith. I'm trying to strengthen it with understanding. Okay?
Okay.
Believe me?
Sure.
No, really. I wouldn't say stuff if it weren't
I
true.
know, like, if you didn't think it was true and you find out about it, then you would tell me that.
So don't think this is an attack or nothing. It's not. It's
It
just...
sometimes feels like it's the way you do things.
No, I'm just excited about,
About
showing my
letting
research.
you know what
Yeah.
you found.
Yep.
All the dirt.
History. It's in the old books.
Yes, we definitely use that one.
Yeah, so all those
God,
books were Bible based according to you guys, and so it's part of your history, it's part of your policy.
But you hang on to it too much as
It's
leave now or something.
I haven't gotten to that point because I'm still reading your history. I haven't gotten to your current stuff yet.
Yeah, exactly.
So because there's so much of the old stuff that I need to, square away first. You want me to be an informed, thorough researcher. So I got to do the whole thing, and it's actually really interesting.
Well, at least you believe the Bible now.
Okay, well,
Are you still a Christian?
I'm still a Christian.
Well, that's what comes out of it, good.
Actually, I gotta give it up to you guys because I probably wouldn't be reading the Bible if it wasn't not to prove you wrong, to compare your stuff to what the Bible actually says.
Yeah.
So,
I do. Pretty amazed that you actually use the language in that Bible. It's pretty cool.
well, hopefully it shows that I'm not hard-headed. I see it for what it is and I accept it. Well, the same thing with your guys' history.
Still hard-headed.
Not when the experts are right about it. Remember, 687, that's the linchpin. So the point is getting disfellowship by people that don't have authority to do that.
Yeah, but they gave him so much opportunities, they really liked him and didn't want to disfellowship. And he's not, it's almost like he doesn't even have faith in it anyway.
That, and the biggest thing that I don't agree with is you can't talk to him. If somebody sees you talking to him, knowing that what the circumstances is, you could be disfellowship.
I wouldn't be disfellowship for being seen talking to him.
But that's the rules.
It's not.
If they want to push it, they will. And many people have been disfellowship over that because they can't talk to you guys. That's how Raymond France got disfellowship. He was seen talking to another person and he got kicked out.
Yeah, but you haven't heard everyone's story.
I heard
one side.
Yeah, well, so where's their side? They're never going to tell you.
Sure, there's
so that's
side.
There's
there is their side. If you're saying that, they'll never tell you, but they'll just not tell you.
They don't tell anybody. They don't announce that stuff on the stage, do they? It's written down, but you can't.
We have talked about that subject before.
Okay, well, but that's the thing. He was disfellowship for having a meal with somebody. Why do they have the power to decide who he could have a meal with or not? He's an adult. He was a governing body member out of all people.
Okay, but I'm just saying that's only one side of the story.
But what other sides is there though? The crime or the sin is him having a meal.
That's what you know of it, but I'm saying there's another side of the story.
Then what is it? They're not defending themselves.
I don't know, but I'm sure there's another side.
Well, they wanted to get him to sign some. Because he's got all this other information and they don't want him talking to anybody else in the congregation. Telling them about, stuff that like the 687 thing.